Hey, this is Nick from Lamar Plus Nick, and I just got my Komodo in the mail. So yeah, first off, this thing is just tiny. It's weird like looking at it online, and then I got it in person, and it's just a totally different experience. It is very small. Yeah, I guess I just want to make this video to kind of explain why I chose to buy it. I feel like my needs for a camera are somewhat different than a lot of people's. We do kind of a range of videos with different techniques. I also end up doing stop motion, freelance stuff, run and gun. We've mounted cameras to cars before. My idea with this camera was to buy it and get the fewest number of parts possible to run the camera. I didn't really know fully what to expect. I wanted to just have it in my hands and be able to look at it and be like, okay, what do I need to attach to the camera to make it right for me? Because this camera is smaller and the third-party accessories for this are there's so many and they're cheap enough that I feel like I'll want to buy several different pieces to turn it into different types of cameras for different situations, which I find really appealing. Even though this is not technically as modular as Red's DSMC 1 and 2 cameras, I do kind of see it as modular because of how small it is and how many ways you can kind of rig it. I just see a lot of possibilities. So I got the fewest number of parts, and basically I'm going to try different stuff out, and I'll make another video whenever I get another couple parts in and talk about how that changes the experience. So my camera is almost a decade old. My camera's pretty much tapped out in terms of, like, I am actually needing slightly higher frame rates at the very least. I'm not really personally ready to drop the kind of money I would need to drop to get a helium or something like that. I saw this camera come along and I had bought the Red Hydrogen 1, which I just thought was a really cool device, obviously when it first came out. Unfortunately, that project has completely shut down because I bought that phone and they didn't end up getting to deliver on the modules. They gave everybody who bought the phone a $1,000 discount on the Komodo. I thought that was amazing, so I got this for even cheaper than I would have had to pay for it. But that put this squarely in an area where it almost felt like a no-brainer. It's a Red camera, it shoots the same files I'm used to. It's 6K instead of 4K. So yeah, because it's been so long, this camera is actually an upgrade in terms of specs. But the overwhelming reason why I bought this camera is because of global shutter. Global shutter is something I have wanted so badly for so long. The way I graduated through cameras was I owned a Sony VX1000 to shoot skateboarding with, which had a 3 sensor in it and is not rolling shutter. So I was already used to a global shutter. Because the first DSMC cameras from Red were taking a little longer to come out than I thought, I bought a Canon T2i, and boy, rolling shutter was real bad. I just do not like how it looks. But yeah, so global shutter, and there's not a loss in dynamic range performance compared to their other cameras, which is absolutely amazing given that it is a tiny 4-inch cube. On top of that, it has a Canon RF mount. I didn't know anything about Canon RF mounts. I wasn't even thinking about any of this, really, because I've just been thinking PL since I bought my Scarlett. The only Canon lens I own is the kit lens from my T2i way back when. With the use of any number of adapters, you can adapt to almost any lens. It takes Canon BP 955 and 975, which are much cheaper batteries, and then CF cards. That's cool too, because you get a selection of companies to buy from and not just proprietary. And then already for this camera, the third-party accessories have been like ramping up at a exponential speed, it feels like. Core SWX just came out with a plate that's the BP to V-mount plate, which I already have V-mount, so I went ahead and bought that instead of BPs for now. That was actually the cheapest option to get the camera running. And then I just bought this handle from Red. It has a trigger button on it. And eventually I'll get, you know, an actually good lens to use on the Canon mount, because autofocus is something I have not had in a long time. And I have to say the app feels amazing. There's an actual, it's like a hand unit for pulling focus, like within the app, which is pretty amazing. And I'm surprised at how electronically it changes like a Canon lens into a cinema lens in how it pulls focus. I'm sure it's not quite as good, but it just feels a little magical in that way because I'm so used to pulling focus myself, and a lot of times not even with a follow focus. A lot of people have been buying, or they have already, like small HD monitors that they've been mounting on top. I don't actually own one of those monitors, but that's what's cool about having this hydrogen phone, is that I am going to actually use that as my monitor. It has a huge battery in it. So having this phone is basically like having a small HD with a battery built into it. Now, the quality of the monitor is probably not as good as a small HD, I would assume. I don't know. But the holographic aspect of the screen does kind of downgrade the quality a little bit when you're looking at it. The other thing is this red 1750 is absolutely ridiculous on this camera. It looks so dumb. It's huge. That doesn't mean I'm not going to use it on there. Like, I will do this. But this PhotoDiox PL to RF adapter, it's currently not attached to any mounting brackets. It does have a little foot, so I've got to find a way to rig that up. That's kind of my next step there. Eventually I'll get BP batteries as well, especially for any type of gimbal setup. That would be much better not having V-mounts on there. I don't know how big that looks yet. The battery plate comes in very soon. So as soon as I have that and I can finally move around with it, because so far luckily the first week I got this, I was deep in a bunch of work and could not even do anything with it, barely. I haven't been able to actually like go walk around with the camera yet. That's first step. So as soon as I get that battery plate, I will be venturing outside, which will be really fun. I'm just sort of describing my approach to buying this camera and how I want to use the camera. And I'm just gonna post little update videos as I get more parts and think of cool things to do with it. So yeah, if anybody wants to see something specific, you know, let me know. I can try to make it happen. I'll work on actually getting some more footage in there. Like I said, I haven't been able to leave the house with it yet. That's in the next video for sure. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Later.